Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux, here with my ranking video for all things Karate Kid, Kung Fu Kid, whatever kid is, Cobra Kai, all the kids, just all of them. We're going to rank them. But before we get into that, I want to quick remind you of the podcast I have just started. We're only one episode deep, but episode 2 should be coming soon if it's not currently out. This is the Why We Horror podcast, where we dissect why we tell horror stories. The first episode of which is about the cabin in the woods. There should be a link somewhere up top, or if you stay to the very end of the video, there will be a hyperlink to it there. But moving on, I finally got a chance to watch all 6 of the Karate Kid movies and 6 seasons of Cobra Kai. So I'm going to give you my definitive ranking of all things Karate Kid. There's going to be some hot takes on here, but I do stand by everything that I say, and I would like you to listen to everything I have to say before you start attacking some of my placements. But anyway, here we go. We're going to start with the bottom of the list and work our way all the way to the top, Mortal Kombat style. In the number 12 spot, we have The Karate Kid Part 3. Don't let anybody else tell you differently. The Karate Kid Part 3 is easily the worst thing in this entire franchise. It is redeemed a little bit by some of the storytelling from Cobra Kai. A lot of the lesser Karate Kid entities do get kind of smoothed over because of Cobra Kai, which makes this franchise sort of even more elevated in my heart than it once was. But Karate Kid Part 3 is the pure distillation of all the tendencies of the 1980s, both in filmmaking and culture. Unfortunately, it's only the negative, toxic traits of the 80s that is being distilled. And it is one purified, concentrated, absolute mess. It has the most obnoxious villain, cartoonishly evil trio of villains. And that's saying something from a franchise that is as cartoonish as this series can be. But it's nothing worse than the manufactured drama and fallout that Miyagi and Daniel LaRusso have. This is truly an awful movie with almost no redeeming parts to it. I did kind of like the girlfriend character. But that's about it. It's still well acted in the parts that offer acting, but nothing can save it. It's also really weird that this takes just place like a year after the first Karate Kid, yet Daniel LaRusso looks like 5 years older. It's because he was. Karate Kid Part 3 is a stinker, and I would say never watch it, but it actually seems to be foundational to some of the best seasons of Cobra Kai. We'll touch on that. And speaking of Cobra Kai, in my number 11 spot, we have Cobra Kai Season 3. This is a season that seemed to double down on the worst episode of Season 2 of Cobra Kai, which was that finale, where they have this big massive fight between all the students in the school. They kind of elongate that for an entire season, and it just did not work for me. Were it not for the adult storyline, I think I would have hopped off of Cobra Kai Season 3. It was the only season where I just didn't care what was going on with the kids, sans McGill, who actually did have something interesting going on. But it is largely just a bad season that comes around in the final 2 episodes with the return of Ali's character from the original Karate Kid, with Elizabeth Shue returning, and seeing her interact with Johnny, where you finally sort of see the chemistry these two characters had, because you really didn't see that in that first movie, it starts to make sense why they were a couple, and it resolves storylines with them, it resolves storylines with Daniel. Those last 2 episodes kind of work. It also ends with a great big battle between the students, this time happening at a house, the start of which is when a kid is picked up and thrown through the window, Jason Voorhees style. Is wild. But anyway, Season 3 was so middling that I almost hopped off. I hadn't heard that there was better seasons yet coming, I think I would have been off of this show. So that's why it ranks so low on this list. In my number 10 spot, we have The Karate Kid Part 2. Karate Kid Part 2 is an interesting one, because the first half of the movie is actually really quite good, and it's atypical. It is a very character-focused narrative, where this time you're watching Daniel become kind of teacher to Mr. Miyagi, who is undergoing something he's never experienced before, which is the loss of his parent. As Daniel has gone through this, he kind of switches roles and starts tutoring his tutor, and that was kind of neat. The only problem with the movie is that it sort of devolves in the back half to give us a Karate Kid remake, and that's unfortunate because it's something I don't think we needed. We didn't need a tournament. We didn't need a fight. There is no tournament at the end of this, but we didn't need a fight. We didn't need a final showdown. We just didn't need it. I was content watching these characters that I've grown to care about continue to grow and change. And Karate Kid Part 2 kind of lets itself down as the story continues, as well as the fact that it just blithely writes out Ali from the beginning, at the beginning of the film, which it really rubbed me the wrong way. And Shinzen is an arch villain, and he seems more dangerous than Johnny Lawrence ever was. But I just didn't. Nothing really kind of worked for the back half of the film. I think it is beautifully shot. I think the score evolved in a really interesting way, and I really like that. I think that the first half of the movie really does offer some powerful character beats, but the stuff that didn't work just really kind of sinks the film. That being said, the stuff that doesn't work really gets elevated through the Cobra Kai TV show in the back half of its series, which I'm sure we'll touch on as we continue moving up this list. In the number 9 spot, we have the next Karate Kid. Now, some people might say this is kind of sacrilegious to put this one above Karate Kid Part 2, but I think it's just that there's a slight bit of freshness to it that I didn't have with Karate Kid Part 2. In terms of filmmaking and acting, I think Karate Kid Part 2 is better than the next Karate Kid, but in terms of which one I'd rather watch, I think it would be the next Karate Kid. Julie Pierce is an interesting character, and I like how Hilary Swank brings her to life. I like seeing Mr. Miyagi have a different relationship with a different student that he's never had before. That's kind of nice. There isn't the whole tournament fight thing going on. It's a little more modern or of my era, so there's that going to it. But I actually kind of enjoyed the next Karate Kid, and I think the best thing that it has going for it is that it has a through line of philosophical underpinnings that are presented throughout the film and explored and executed fairly well within the film, far better than anything in the 3 prior Karate Kid movies. There's karate that's introduced throughout the whole thing that connects these two characters of Daniel and Miyagi, but you don't really get a firm philosophy of why to practice it a lot of the time. Like, they touch on it sometimes. I think that's actually firmly embedded in the next Karate Kid better than in any of the prior Karate Kid movies, which is something that I really responded well to. And that's why it's as high as it is on this list. For a lot of people I've talked to, this would be their bottom. I don't think it's that bad. I actually think it's pretty watchable, and I've rewatched it since my first time watching it earlier this year. Alright, in my number 8 spot is Karate Kid Legends. This one came to me a slight disappointment because, similar to Karate Kid Part 2, the first half of this movie is pretty spectacular. I was really vibing with it. And ironically, it also opens up with a scene from Karate Kid Part 2. But you have this young boy who comes to America, and he is meets a down on his luck boxer, and he starts teaching this boxer the art of Kung Fu and how Kung Fu can better both his life and he can use its tools within boxing to come back around and fix his life. This was a really interesting take on it, and Joshua Jackson as the boxer is spectacular. He's one of the best characters in this entire franchise. And like Joshua Jackson, his praises aren't sung enough. He's one of the finest of his generation of actors, and we don't talk about that enough. But he's great. He's the reason to watch this movie. The love interest character is also really quite good. That's the daughter of the boxer, and she's really good. She's interesting, and everything is working so well for the first half of the movie, and then the second half of the movie happens, where it just becomes a remake of the original Karate Kid, and so much so that they bring back Daniel LaRusso for no other reason than to just kind of do it. And Mr. Han is brought back from the Karate Kid remake film, but he doesn't seem like he's the same character. He's played by the same actor in Jackie Chan, but they don't seem like the same characters. There's no unity in that performance. It's as different as Jeff Goldblum was from Jurassic Park to The Lost World. It just seems like two completely different characters united by one actor. And I think I would have been able to forgive this a little bit more for Karate Kid Legends if the action had been photographed well enough. But it's so intercut and so choppy and almost photographed like a video game that it didn't play for me, especially after coming off of so much really great choreography and fight work in Cobra Kai. In fact, I think it has the worst action of the entire franchise. That said, there is enough good here, and the groundwork for great characters and maybe a continuation of them, that I'm willing to put it so high on this list. Moving on to the number 7 spot is Cobra Kai Season 1. Season 1 of Cobra Kai was pretty good. It had a decent start, and it just kept getting better as you started familiarizing yourself with these characters, but it's Johnny Lawrence that really kind of takes ownership, along with Zolo Miraduena, who plays McGill. Their relationship really elevates Season 1 of this show, along with the series. Season 1's final two episodes really, kind of gives you a really great window into Johnny Lawrence, who's troubled, seeing himself reflected in McGill, this boy who, when we first meet him, is so reminiscent of Daniel Lawrence that when he starts being taught by the Cobra Kai methodology, Johnny Lawrence sees exactly what was done to him and what could have happened by the end of the first Karate Kid had he won the tournament. And it's a great conclusion that got me to continue watching this show, and I'm so glad I did, because this show got so much better than Season 1. In the number 6 spot, and I'm kind of shocked it's as low as it is on my list, but I think that speaks more to the quality of the other stuff around it, is Cobra Kai Season 6. Season 6 of Cobra Kai has a really good start and a phenomenal ending. But it's those middle 5 episodes that you really can tell the writer's strike and acting strike took their toll on the season, because it became kind of scattershot and rushed, so much so that you feel like those actual last 5 episodes were a second bite at the apple, because what they had been developing just wasn't gelling the way it should for the culmination of the series. Now, those final 5 episodes are extraordinarily good, especially the last 3, and are filled with emotional truisms that if you're a fan of this franchise, you can't help but release everything that you've been holding inside you throughout. It's a tearjerker, it's also a cheer-jerker, to coin a phrase. I absolutely loved its ending, but I can't excuse the middle of this story. There's some great work here from performances of, like, Peyton List has a really good episode where she's confronted with the death of her mother, that she puts in some of the finest work. Some of the choreography is at its best during the Sekai Taikai, but it's really the last 3 episodes of this that I think would be my 3 favorite episodes of the entire series. That it pains me that I have it not even in the top 5 of my Karate Kid ranking. William Zabka just absolutely nails his performance in this season, in this series, and in those final couple of episodes. And you really come away thinking that Johnny Lawrence is the greatest thing to have ever happened to the Karate Kid franchise. And I absolutely love it. However, I can't excuse that middle section. And that's why I have in the 5th spot Cobra Kai Season 2, which I was shocked when I had to be honest with myself I had ahead of Season 6, but that's because the first 8 episodes of the Season 2 of Cobra Kai are some of the strongest this story has to offer. You get to see how these characters are learning the different ways of being either a Cobra Kai or a Miyagi-Do, and how it's manufacturing the relationships and fracturing the relationships that currently exist between the different kids. And it's really, really well written. It is performed so well by all the actors. Mary Mouser really gets to come into her own in Season 2, and she, I think, is one, along with William Zabka, one of the strongest elements of Cobra Kai. But it's because of the last episode of Season 2 that I don't have this season higher, because that last episode was just so unbelievable for me. To think that there was a massive, massive brawl at a school where multiple kids got seriously injured, one of which potentially paralyzed, and none of them got expelled except for the one kid who ran away and didn't so much get expelled as he got arrested a season later, is just wholly unbelievable in a franchise that's about reverence for karate in the present day. So, I couldn't buy into that. But largely, Season 2 is a great, great season of television. In my number 4 spot, and this is where I'm probably going to get attacked, is the original Karate Kid from 1984. This is a great movie. It's kind of a Rocky clone, but it is the best Rocky clone they could possibly make from the maker of Rocky, the director of Rocky, I should say. And it is able to overcome being just a Rocky clone by having an extraordinary series of performances, but not the least of which is Ralph Macchio, who's never been better than in this performance in this film. He is extraordinary, and the fact that he didn't get nominated for it is beyond me, because it's truly one of the best performances I've seen of the 80s, certainly one of the most memorable ones, outshined only by Pat Morita's Mr. Miyagi, who has gone down as one of the greatest characters in cinema history to come out of the 1980s. So much so that we're still making movies and TV shows about this character, this fictional character's legacies and philosophies. And that is pretty extraordinary and telling. The movie itself is extraordinarily well shot, has a great score, pretty banging soundtrack. It has great side characters with Johnny Lawrence, who's such a great weasel of a villain. And then you have Jonathan Creese as kind of the big bad, molding the minds of these kids. You have Elizabeth Shue as Allie. And all of this is great, and that really speaks to why the next 3 on my list are better than that, because I've done nothing but sing the praises of The Karate Kid 1984. I think its big failing is that it just doesn't have the originality that Rocky had. It feels too much like it's kind of trying to be a Rocky clone, that I can't ignore that. And it telegraphs its end. Now, that's something that is true for basically the entire works of all things Karate Kid, but this one more so than any, you feel like it was going to have the happy ending that Rocky didn't. In my number 3 spot is Cobra Kai Season 5. This one moved mountains to make All Things Karate Kid Part 3 make perfect sense and to elevate the story at play within its confines of Season 5. The way that we keep revisiting Kreese and seeing what is going on with him psychologically, the way that Silver is examined and his arch villainy, which we saw so over the top in Karate Kid Part 3, is made believable here. And it's because of the groundwork that one of the other seasons of Cobra Kai really made feel real, but Silver really, really makes this a must-watch. By the time I got to the end of Season 5, I wasn't sure I needed anything else, because Season 5 ends so appropriately for me. They manufactured a villain so incredibly, cartoonishly, but believably evil, that watching his topple down from grace was so meaningful and earned by the end of it. Those final couple episodes are like a genuine nail-biter. And how the kids and the adults team up to take down Silver is fantastic television. And some of my favorite moments of all things Karate Kid. Moving into my number 2 spot is Karate Kid 2010. Now, the only thing that holds this movie back at all, the only negative I have for Karate Kid 2010 is the fact that it feels redundant if you've seen the original Karate Kid, as most remakes do. If you've seen the original and this one gives you a pretty accurate representation of that, it feels slightly unnecessary. But the shift in location, the shift in philosophy, the shift in the ages of the actors, all work to this film's benefit. And I think that the fact that the screenwriters and the director really took the time to refilm every single scene from the original Karate Kid in a modern light with really thoughtful and well-drawn action and acting and dialogue and performance all comes together, where taken individually, every single scene from the remake I think is individually better than that we got which we got in the original film. The only thing the original film has on the remake is that it was original. It wasn't a redundant retread, and therefore you can make an argument that it's better because of that, but itself was kind of a Rocky clone, so it doesn't really stand on that leg. Or if it does, it's doing it with the same limp that Daniel was at the end of the movie. I really like the Karate Kid 2010, and I think a big part of that is Jackie Chan, who gives the best performance he's ever given stateside in that film. He gives an awards-worthy performance that shamefully was not recognized. But if you have any negative feelings towards this film, I'm sure it has all to do with Jaden Smith. Try to separate that. First of all, he was a literal child when they made this film, but he is quite good in it. But just revisit it, if only to recapture the extraordinary performance that Jackie Chan gives throughout the entire thing. It's an atypical performance from him. It is purely dramatically driven. There's hardly any humor there, and the humor that is at play within his performance feels organic to the story and is not at all distracting. In fact, when people originally heard that he was going to be playing the Mr. Miyagi type character, they assumed he was going to be pretty silly, as he was in like Rush Hour and how most American audiences knew him from. when you watch Karate Kid Legends, that is kind of the performance that you get out of him. This is a grounded performance, a believable performance, and I think one of the best performances of the entire series, or maybe even, gun to my head, the best performance of the entire franchise. But all of this leads to my number one pick, which isn't a Karate Kid movie. It is a season of Cobra Kai, and it is the only perfect season of the show where there is not a single bad episode, not a single misstep across the way, and that is Cobra Kai Season 4. The final 2 episodes of this season are so good because they give you basically who you think is going to win this big tournament, and they flip it on its head in ways that even surprised me when I got what I expected. And the fact that they were able to surprise me by also giving me what I was expecting was itself a major surprise. The performances across the board are great. This brings back Silver, who is a completely interesting and integral character to make Season 4 work. And when they first brought him back, I almost did hop off the show because I really was not a fan of Season 3 of Cobra Kai, because I was like, I cannot spend a second more with this character. Karate Kid Part 3 was just awful. I cannot do it, and I'm glad I did, because I'm glad I didn't, because he is so good. They do the work to reclaim his character before giving him his villainous turn once more. And you get to see Kreese in a different dynamic than we had seen him. And this is the season where you finally get to see Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso working together. You also get to see how their children start gravitating towards the other team member. You have McGill, who is sort of the surrogate child of Johnny Lawrence, who starts drifting towards the Miyagi-Do style. You have Samantha, who is Daniel LaRusso's daughter, start drifting towards the teachings of Johnny Lawrence. Then you have Tanner Buchanan's character who's the actual son of Johnny Lawrence, start drifting towards Kreese and what Silver have to offer. Meanwhile, you also have Tori, who had so much going on with the previous 2 seasons with Samantha, start falling under the wing of Amanda, who is the wife of Daniel LaRusso, and their relationship is absolutely compelling, truthfully, throughout the rest of the series. And Amanda has something to do in this series. She seemed to be just set decoration for large parts of Season 1, 2, and 3. This is the season she probably has the most to do, maybe a little bit in Season 5 as well, but she is pretty fantastic. The final fights are absolutely gripping. The performances from everybody across the board are great, but it's William Zabka and Mary Mouser that really take ownership in this season. That I absolutely love their performances, as well as Tanner Buchanan and McGill. Oh, he's great. And Hawk this is the best season if you're a Hawk fan. I can do nothing but sing the praises of Season 4. The only time this series or franchise got better than Season 4 is in those final 3 episodes of Season 6. Thank you for watching this really long love letter to all things Karate Kid. And I would love to hear your definitive rank in the comment area down below. To give you my final rundown once more, in the number 12 spot, we have Karate Kid Part 3, number 11, Cobra Kai Season 3, number 10, Karate Kid Part 2, number 9, The Next Karate Kid, number 8, Karate Kid Legends, 7, Cobra Kai Season 1, 6, Cobra Kai Season 6, 5, Cobra Kai Season 2, 4, Karate Kid 1984, 3, Cobra Kai Season 5, 2, Karate Kid 2010, and number 1, Cobra Kai Season 4. Thanks for watching. just a reminder, check out my podcast, Why We Horror. There should be a link somewhere right up here. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff.